Alright, what's going on, guys? It's time for our morning stream here. Let's go ahead and get things set up and dive into what we're going to be doing today. Let me pull up a couple things here. So we are, if you saw my video last night, I uploaded a quick little speed sculpt of doing some anatomy practice working on the human head, and we are going to be doing something extremely similar today. But I'm going to go ahead and import my image here for my reference. You'll see it's not exactly a reference, but more of a guideline. So let me find that image here real quick. Alright. So this is a head guidelines image that I'm going to be using to block out proportions for my character. But as you can see, they're pretty basic, pretty rough, but they will get the job done for today, for what we're looking to do. Now, I just had someone commenting on a video about using Spotlight. So let me go ahead and go over the process of importing that image just like I did there without using my user interface. So we're just going to use the standard menus up here. So just what I like to do is, if I'm messing with something like this, just throw the palette over on one of your sides. So we're using the texture palette, and this is again to import this image here and use it in your Spotlight. So what you're going to do is you're going to come up and go to import, and it'll open up a little window for you. You're going to find an image and import that image, and it'll place it right here. Click on that image and then click the button Add to Spotlight. Now after you click that image, let me turn that off. After you click that button Add to Spotlight, it'll pop open the image for you just like this. And you're going to have this little wheel here, and that wheel has a bunch of different options on it. But from here, what's important is if you want to use Spotlight as a reference, you have to go into your, let's see, let me make sure I have this right. I believe it's under brush, so yeah. So go into your brush menu, so take your brush menu, dock it over on the side, go to samples, and uncheck Spotlight projection. It's going to allow you to use Spotlight as a reference image now instead of its original intention, which is to project details onto your sculpt. So now you got your image all set up to go. From there, the shortcuts, if you ever forget what they are, you can go in your texture palette and hover over some of these buttons. So turn on Spotlight, Shift Z. So Shift Z toggles that on and off. The Z key will toggle your little ring here on and off, so if you want to make some changes to that. I'm going to leave it right there though. I think that's a good place for it. So from here, what we're going to do is set up some views for our little head here. So let's go to Movie, Timeline, Show. And it's going to activate my timeline there. I'm going to make sure that perspective is turned off on this. I'm going to line up my front view here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm just going to try to line it up as best as I can there. We'll say that right there is good enough, and these lines are asymmetrical here, so they're not awesome, but that's okay. And then I'm just going to click a little timestamp there on my timeline, so it'll create that little dot for me. So if I ever mess up, move this, shrink it, do whatever, I can always get that view back. And then of course, I'm going to rotate to the side and do the exact same thing here, making sure I do not zoom in. I want to keep this exactly the same. And then I'm going to click and make another dot there. So now I can actually interpolate between these two if I would wish, but for the most part, I'm just going to use it to snap to each one. So very helpful tool there, timeline and Spotlight combined. That'll be very useful. Rohit, I was just showing how to use Spotlight here at the beginning of the stream, so if you missed any of that, I know you were asking some questions, go ahead and check those out on the in the previous couple minutes there, and hopefully that'll explain some things better for you if you're still having some problems with it. I don't know if you're on 4R8. You had said that there might be an issue there. Very well may be, but I believe that maybe something happened with your hotkeys or something like that. I'm not too sure though. Alright, so I'm just duplicating my sphere and moving it down to create the shelf of the face. And we're gonna start dynameshing these two puppies together. So merge down. I now have two spheres all in one subtool. Make sure they look like they're different colors so they're separate polygroups there. And I can begin editing these. I don't want to dynamesh them together quite yet, so I'm going to continue filling out the shape of our proportional grid here. So using something like this can be very helpful for study, for just figuring out how things need to be and give yourself a little bit of a sanity check every once in a while. So I'm just using a large move brush right now to kind of just move and place things where they need to be. Not trying to be perfectly accurate with that, because it will not be that big of a deal until we merge these together. So that's what I'm going to do right now, Dynamesh. And we can just polygroup those together with Control W. So now we have our basic kind of head shape here that we can work off of and start to fit a little bit better. Now I don't have a top view with this image, so I am going to have to look at additional reference for that, which you absolutely should have additional reference if you're doing something like this. Make sure that you have multiple views. It'll be extremely helpful for you. I'm going to lower my Dynamesh resolution. It's going to make it a lot easier on me while I'm trying to get these more basic shapes. And continue just kind of following my grid here, and I'll show you a couple things here in a sec as we do that. On 4R8, yeah, I am also on 4R8. So the shortcuts should be the same. Again, I would just check out those previous couple minutes, and I think you should be all set to go. But let's take a look at getting this to fit our proportions a little bit better here. I'm just using my transpose tool to kind of quickly clip some of these shapes. Nothing fancy, just mask, clip off. Honestly, I don't even need to mask, it just helps me see that line a little bit better than I'm attempting to capture. So I know exactly what direction I want that to go. And these are really rough, and that's exactly what we want at this stage. So trying to look here. I want to get a little bit of a shelf here from the lip to that corner of the eye, and from the corner of the eye up to the brow. And before we do that though, let's go ahead and get the front shape here, the front of the face, a little bit better. So we'll try to create a little bit of a line here to try to capture that curve a little bit better. So you can mask it off if that helps you see a little bit better here. 1 second. Alright, so I'm just doing this so I can kind of visualize this line just a little bit easier for me. You can even polygroup it if you want, so you can maybe do it without it unmasked and just kind of come through here and pinch up and around, so just like so. So I'm just going down from the jaw here up and trying to capture the shape of the skull on the side of the head. Look up some reference of some skulls if you don't know what I'm talking about. But yeah, just trying to capture that shape and carry that form through the rest of the head there. And can maybe knock down some of this shape. Honestly, I like to kind of leave this in while I'm doing this kind of proportional study, because it can be helpful to have additional information. But now what we're going to do is again go back to that side view go down to the corner of our eye and get our little shelf here. And I'm just using that pinch brush to pinch in and move some things around. And I think that looks pretty good. So at this point, we can go ahead and get the basic shape of our nose. Very easy to do so, just kind of keep it within the width provided there in the guide for you. And we'll just pull that out. And if we want, we can go back to that side view and begin figuring out exactly where we want that to be. We're going to widen that out a little bit as well. Once we start getting some of the proportions down a little bit better here, we can, let me increase that Dynamesh here. Once we get those proportions down a little bit better, we'll turn on perspective and work that way. But at this point, we're starting to block out those shapes even more so. So here we go. Now we, again, back to that point where I was talking about kind of rounding out these shapes. That can be very helpful. But again, sometimes I like to leave those in there for additional info. Maybe widen out our brow here a little bit and try to pinch some of this. And while you're working like this, it's extremely important that whatever reference you're going off of, try to kind of hold yourself back. Like right now, look at me, I'm trying to kind of go in on this nose, and I'm like even subdividing, and I'm like, ooh, I want to get some additional shape in this nose and start working on these secondary forms in there. Try to hold yourself back from doing that. I was kind of doing that as an example of that. But try to avoid that as best as you can, and try to keep everything towards the same resolution as you're working. So let's get a line in there for our mouth, a line in there for our chin, and I think that mouth is a little bit wide there, but we want to mask that out. So let's go ahead and make sure get that into position, get our chin a little bit better in there. And try to make a little bit more sense out of that. So let's do this, and then we'll pull out the shape for our neck. So that little under lip area where that chin is. We'll do the same technique, so using the pinch brush, and start to pinch that in. And try to get that shape a little bit better. Same for the lips. Don't worry if it's low res like this, we're trying to go for that really basic shape. So like I said, avoid going too crazy on the information. You're really looking for that silhouette at this point. And we'll work on pulling that back and a few other things, but let's continue now to pull out the shape of our neck. So there's a few different ways that you can do that. What I'm going to do is just mask it off. Mask off our basic shape here. And do a really dirty, ugly pull on this geo. What's going on, guys? Are you doing a sculpt for Sculpt January? I am not participating in Sculpt January, no. This is just a little bit of a study and to show you guys some tips and stuff for how you can sculpt a head here in ZBrush real quick and easy. And again, that reference is very important, but here we go, pulling out our neck. Right now, when I'm pulling that out, I'm looking for this line here, this angle. So that's what's most important to me. And then from there, you know, we can Dynamesh real quick if we need to, and then start pushing in to get the shape of our neck a little bit better. Being careful not to move our camera. So just looking for that silhouette there. And then coming through and cleaning up this from some better angles. And even at this point, my resolution is kind of getting in the way. So we might have to lower that even more. Making sure that we really get the shape of the jaw in here so that we can differentiate that. We don't want to have some confusion there as to where that line is exactly happening. We want to define that a little bit better. So again, no top or bottom reference, but you guys can kind of follow along. Or again, do make sure that you have your own reference that you're following with. It's going to be extremely helpful. And again, if the resolution is causing you more problems than helping you out, just lower it. You're not gonna, at this stage, you don't need to worry about it being too high res. You're not gonna lose anything important at this stage for sure. So now we can try to widen out our neck there a little bit. And then clip away some of that on the bottom as we have a little bit of some extra geo that we've pulled out. So again, just trying to kind of separate that jawline so that I can see a little bit better there. And come on out here. And I would like to just kind of clip that chin right there. Make that a little bit easier to see. Just kind of trying to separate those out a little bit better. Alright, so looking back at the front view, guys. Start to mess with some of these shapes, but I think let's work on really getting the shape of the face a little bit better here. So from the side, I'm going to begin trimming down some of the temple up here, just to get that shape a little bit better, a little bit more accurate. And that ridge is getting a little strong there, so don't worry about that. We will adjust it as we continue moving forward. Just being aware as you push things up, it's going to cause that little bit of a concavity there, and that's something we want to avoid. And try to round that back out a little bit better, and it still doesn't look great, but that's fine. Let's go ahead and turn on our perspective though, and begin blocking out some of these other shapes here. So these guides have been very helpful for getting us the silhouette here, to allow us to work on those shapes. And again, let me turn that perspective off. So filling in that that silhouette, again from the front view and also from the side view, to try to fit these shapes as best as we can. And we've done a decent job at that. And we can, I think, stand to adjust our jaw a little bit here before we move forward, just a little bit. So what I'm going to do is give us a nice mask here to work with. And I'm trying to find exactly where that zygomatic process is, so your cheekbone and then flowing back to your ear past your jaw there. So we're going to try to find that line a little bit better there, try to capture that. And after we have that mask, we can just press Ctrl W, and that's going to create a polygroup for us. And then if you want, you can select only that and work on that, or you can just kind of Control click it and get a mask for yourself. But I'm going to be using this to create a mask like so, and block out a little bit better again where that jawline is. And if you look at your own, so like go look in the mirror and try to figure out how that transitions a little bit better. I think it's very helpful to do something like that. But yeah, we'll continue to just kind of work on that shape. And again, once we get that to a decent place that we're happy with, we can begin cleaning up some of these shapes on the face. So we have this really hard line kind of coming down through there. I want to start getting closer to what we're going to want here for our final face. So starting to adjust some proportions here. And I'm using my trim brush. You can use your standard brush or clay brush, whatever you want to use to kind of start adjusting some of these forms a little bit better. But I'm using my move brush to kind of pull back on the corners of the mouth so that we can get a nice, decent shape there. And if you want to go ahead and start blocking out where your eyeball is going to be, you can do that. I typically wait to do that till a little bit later if I'm working on something all as a single Dynamesh like we are right now. Let's go ahead and make sure that our eye is pulled back far enough there. Our brow shape. Our mouth should be good about right there. But now what we're going to do is start to get in that cheekbone and start to get in our nasolabial fold, because that's what's going to affect the shape of our mouth quite a bit moving forward. So I haven't gone too far on the lips here yet because we want to get the surrounding shape first a little bit better. So no worries there. Try to pinch that in real hard a little bit there, and also down there on the bottom. And let's increase our Dynamesh resolution. Around 200. And let's go ahead and turn on perspective and start getting in, again, our cheekbone and our nasolabial fold. Nasolabial fold is, I think it's pretty easy to kind of start blocking in, but it's also pretty easy to go overboard with how much you add there. Depending on the age of your character, it's going to be more or less visible. So on an older character, it's going to be a lot more visible. As time goes, you know, when you smile, you can see these lines start to appear, and those appear more and more as you get older. So go in the mirror and like start making all sorts of funny faces, and you'll start to see the line where that appears and where that's most prominent. But yeah, just kind of blocking in that shape. As well as the shape of our cheekbone, flowing back from there towards our ear, which we will put our basic ear shape in here shortly. We're not going to sculpt an entire ear. we're just going to do the basic forms of that. And we're looking to get the bump out here of the cheekbone and continue to build up that form. So you're looking for this basic shape here that I'm kind of starting to build out. So try to keep that a little bit better. And try to keep that squareness that you see in the silhouette here, which it can be easy to kind of get rid of that over time as you're working on your forms and kind of starting to blend everything together. It starts to get more and more round, and especially with a male head, you're looking for these strong transitional forms, and it can be hard to keep those in there. But yeah, I'm kind of just working organically, jumping around from different areas where I see it needs work. So this is kind of the point where I start to go a little bit more freehand, using this reference less and less. Not every human head, not every male head or female head, this is more of a male head reference, is going to fit this exact proportion. But I think it's great for doing some little studies and for learning and improving. Just kind of trying to build up the shape of my jaw and blending it down to the, or up into the cheekbone here. Try to get my brow shape a little bit better here. And my skull. A little bit better back there. Trying to just block out the shape of your sternocleidomastoid. It's just the most prominent muscle in your neck, and try to be careful that you don't go too crazy with it, as it's pretty common that people will build that form up pretty large just because they'll see it in an écorché view and then kind of make it a little bit more prominent than it really needs to be, and you can go overboard pretty quick with those. Anubis, welcome to the stream. Are you asking me a question here? Logan Paul's action complicated foreigner's life in Japan. I think his action worsened trust. I mean, going to Japan, as someone who has lived in Japan for a little bit, no, I don't think one person's little video is gonna make a difference for a country trusting a group of people. And also living in Japan, you know, seeing another American, at least in Tokyo, was like, if you saw anybody that wasn't Japanese in Tokyo, you're like, oh my god, hey, what's up? Like, it's an awesome thing, because the population is pretty much all local Japanese people. But yeah, I don't actually give a fuck about Logan Paul, so I don't really care to talk about it. Are you done with the old guy? Says Dev Nomad. I did a quick little render of him. Anton Sokolov is what you're talking about. Images. Let's see. There's a quick little render of Anton. Worked on him a little bit more and played around with a few different things. I don't know if I'll return to it, but yeah, that's where we are right now on him. So you know, nothing's ever finished. It's just abandoned. So he's abandoned for now, but that's what he looks like today, at least. Cool. But yeah, when I was living in Japan, like, oh man, when I would see people on the street that look like they aren't like native Japanese people, it was like, oh my god. Or like if you're even on like a train and you can't like, or you're like in a place where you can't talk to each other, but you just like see each other maybe across the street or far away, you like give each other the nod of like approval. You're like, sup, like, you know what's what. But seriously, like walking through the subway and stuff, when I was living there, like everybody I saw was Japanese, every single person, which makes sense. It's Tokyo, it's Japan, right? But like people would actually like be surprised to see you, like, oh my god, someone that doesn't look like me. It was kind of funny. But yeah, there's definitely some people in Japan that really, or I think it's more young people that really like American culture, and they dye their hair bright colors or like blonde or something like that. But yeah, I don't know. I had a really great time when I was living there. But again, I don't think one person's video that everybody is talking about, hence why I don't care about it, is going to make any kind of a difference. So right now, I need perspective on is what I need. But so we're still trying to build up those basic shapes. We've probably gone a little bit too cray in the neck here with our forms. We need to blend those a little bit better, but being messy isn't a bad thing, I don't think, for most of the time. But you can see there that we've kind of really started to block in our basic proportions, and we've got to a pretty good place at this point. We've got in the basic line of our nasolabial fold here, coming down the face and flowing down up under the chin, and on a lot of people you'll actually see it'll create a little bit of a extra bump right there of skin, so look for that. And then for the cheekbones, at least for me, are tough, you know. I always struggle with getting the cheekbones for me to be happy with them. This area right in here tends to be a tough area to get some nice forms in, to make it kind of follow that boundary of looking really clean and also just looking really natural, which is a tough combination to achieve. But I think once you play with it more, I think you guys will get the hang of it. But yeah, just playing with my pinch brush now to tighten up some of these forms just a little bit here, and see if I can maybe pinch in a little bit around the cheek there. And then just some filling in of some shapes here. I intentionally kind of dug that shape in the cheek quite a bit, and I do that just so that I can separate my primary forms in the face. It makes it a little bit easier, I think, for me to figure those out as I'm working. And then, again, look at reference, look at your own face. Does your own face have this huge concavity on the cheek? Probably not, unless you don't eat, but I think you can create some really interesting forms there, depending on what kind of face you're creating, age, and everything else. Let's let's see here. Like to go one day just to buy suitcases full of cheap Nintendo games. Sam, bro, can you please tell me how to make our model smooth without damaging the detail? That's kind of a complex question. I think it's something that comes with a lot of practice. And if it's something that you struggle with, I think you need to kind of work on the major steps of your process a little bit more. So as I'm working back here, if you look maybe back here, so what your question tells me is if you're trying to make your model smooth without damaging your detail, it's that you're going to the detail too soon. That's kind of what that tells me. So if you're getting to a stage where you need to create detail, but your previous, so you got primary, secondary, tertiary forms, right? So if you're trying to create tertiary forms, but your secondary and primary forms aren't where you want them yet, you've kind of jumped ahead too quick. So really focus on those two first and then kind of get to there. Or if your secondary forms that you're trying to create, you're working on those and then, ooh, something's wrong in my primary forms, just like take a step back, maybe lower your resolution and work like that. But as you can see right now, we're still in our primary form stage, right? We're starting to get some secondary shapes in here with the nose, and we're going to be working on our lips here in a little bit. But you know, we're really focusing on getting our good primary forms. So that's what I recommend. But like I said, it's a complicated question and answer, and it's going to be something that kind of comes with time and mastery of your own process as you figure that out more. Always so tempting to detail. So I just did a subdivision once there on my model so that I can attempt to crease my nose there a little bit better. But now that subdivision isn't very helpful when I want to, say, work over here on this transition, because now I have too many polygons. So I can, you know, step back down one subdiv if that helps out and really start to work on this larger shape that I'm trying to sculpt. So like I said, it's something that it'll come with practice as you kind of work with your own process more and figure that out. But yeah, keep practicing. Try to line that mouth up a little bit better there since we've kind of lost a lot of that shape, and try to do that. Try to do that from our side view as well. Our front view, sorry. If you're working on the mouth, we're just doing a single Dynamesh here. We can rough in some quick eyes here too. Where those will exist. Help me see some of this cheek form as well. But if you're having trouble working on the lips here, just mask them off. Just like that. Work on one at a time. And the bottom one is pretty much just a single. Let's Dynamesh this so that we can get some more geometry in here. We'll raise our Dynamesh. Have a few more polys to work with. Robert, welcome to the stream, says, what happened to the old man? What are you doing? We just talked about that. The one from the game, can't remember the name. Anton Sokolov from Dishonored 2. Yep, we're calling him done for now, and I was just showing off a quick little render I did of that. But we might return to that after a little while, but we're calling him abandoned for now. And we will see if we return to that. But we are doing some little face study for you guys, so that you guys can hopefully glean some information from this. I uploaded a quick little video of one of these yesterday, just a time lapse, and those can be very helpful for seeing stuff quickly, but seeing the process broken down can be helpful for some people as well, I know. So that's what we're trying to do today, and try to give you guys a little bit more info here as I go. So talk about the process and some of the decisions that I am making here. So hopefully you guys can learn some stuff from this. So our lips need to line or come out a little bit more, line up a little bit better with our nasolabial fold there, and Dynamesh there, that's fine. So I'm creating a really hard line there as I try to blend these a little bit better. Abandoned, that's right. Work's never finished, only abandoned. Speaking of abandoned, Daryl and I just recorded a new episode of Art Anonymous, and our audio totally got destroyed. It was abandoned. So we're gonna have to re-record some stuff, which is unfortunate, but hopefully it'll be better. There's a lot of great stuff that happened in that recording though, so hopefully we can recapture some of that stuff, like I said, and see. But it's unfortunate, but you know, that kind of stuff happens all the time, and working in production, you just gotta be as ready for it as you can, but sometimes, you know, it still definitely sucks when it happens. I'm trying to capture this shape in here a little bit better. And again, I'm being real messy here, and I think that's something important that a lot of people, you know, they're kind of afraid to play in the mud and just go ham, but you gotta do that sometimes. It's not a very good separation there. Yo, Scott, what's up, dude? Anytime I'm recording audio for any length of time, I use Zoom H2 for backup. Yeah, it wasn't... So what happened was we were trying something new. We were trying to record with 2 microphones. And Daryl brought his microphone over, but we've been trying to do this for a while. Unfortunately, Daryl lost his cable for his microphone. So what he ended up doing was using a cable... a different cable from a printer, and it's the same connection, but the cable doesn't stay into his microphone very well. So while recording, the cable came loose, and essentially OBS, the recording software I use, essentially said that track disappeared for a split second, so now it just no longer exists. So it was showing that it was still picking up, but it just didn't create that audio track there at the end. So unfortunately, it didn't work out. If we were using a single audio track, it probably would have recorded fine. But there's no reason to record with 2 microphones if we're going to use a single audio track. That kind of defeats the purpose of the whole thing. Yeah, Scott, glad to have you. Ugh, yeah, Ugh is right. Glad to have you with us, dude. Hope to see you at the next IG Day. Or is Global Game Jam next? I don't know if anybody here is a game jammer or not, but that's coming up, depending on time and everything else. I think it would be fun to participate in this year. It's been a while since I've done, it's been a couple years since I've done anything for Global. They're always fun to play with. The first year I did the Global Game Jam, a game that came out of it, you guys probably know, Surgeon Simulator. So the first year I participated, that was one of the games that ended up coming out of there and then kind of going viral from there. But yeah, that was fun. Trying to get this shape of the lower lip a little bit better. Bring those forms out, and we can kind of play with blending those. And you can see here that my surface is not super clean through there. It's not the end of the world. We can always lower our resolution, we can Dynamesh, we can, you know, pinch that, clean it up, trim brush it. There's many ways that we can come through here and clean it up. And kind of going back to someone's question who was saying, like, how do you clean it up and keep those details there? It's a complicated question, so just kind of keep practicing, and you're gonna find ways in your own process to do that. But that's like asking, how do you sculpt a head? It's like, wow, it's a deep question, man. Middendorf is more hyped than usual. What? I think he's always like that. It's all that coffee and caffeine running through him. He's a caffeinated boy. Alright, so I'm just gonna kinda, ooh, you know what? I don't want to do that. Just trying to kinda get a stronger turn on the surface here. Let's do this first. Kind of dig in a little bit and then pinch. We'll see. Yeah, we will. Should be fun though. I'm excited to see what people work on for sure. Want to kind of turn the surface here a little bit on the cheekbone and kind of get a nice S curve through the face there. So that transition, I pinched it to kind of help turn the surface there, but now I need to kind of knock that down and not let it be quite that strong. Same with going back here to the zygomatic. We don't want that to be quite as strong. But yeah, coming here, looking at the side view, your ear is going to be right behind the jaw pretty much. And from the front view, you want that to line up with your eyes and with the bottom of your nose. So you can turn on your little view there if we want to see how that looks. And I already have some area masked off over there, but I'm just going to widen my eyes a little bit here. Adjust those just ever so slightly. And push up my mouth. But yeah, let's go ahead and we'll do something like this, just to get a basic idea. So coming from the bottom of the nose, let's do this, and we'll do that. The ear has an angle that goes back a little bit, so it angles back slightly. Maybe not quite that strong, but grab some reference if you need to, and something like that. So that's a good starter place for our mask. You can use your mask pen if you want to kind of clean up the shape a little bit here. But yeah, from here I recommend that you just kind of flip your mask and pull out your shape a little bit and give it a little rotate. Start to pull that shape out. You can turn our perspective back on and start to pull out our ear shape. And for this, we're going to want to cut away some of that geometry in the back. So Dynamesh to redistribute some polygons, and then come in here and just start pushing in this shape. And if you're having trouble cleaning some of this up, again, a lower resolution is really going to help you out with a lot of that. You can look up some reference of some ears. We're not going to do a complete ear here. We're mainly just going to kind of get the most basic shapes in here. Nothing crazy. I would say look at your own ear in a mirror, but you're not really going to be able to see inside of it. I think ears are pretty easy once you kind of understand the major forms of them. And there's such a large variation in ear shapes that it's kind of hard to go too wrong, too off base, but at the same time, you know, look up some reference, maybe take some pictures of your own ear and use that. Alright, so try to get those basic forms in there. We'll try to get the ear canal a little bit, smooth that out, and we'll just kind of get the major helix and anti-helix shapes, and we'll kind of leave it as such. Trying to round that out a little bit better since it's such a weird, sharp angle that I got going on up there. Doing your sculpt for Sculpt January. Well, good for you, Robert. Keep at it, dude. I hope to see you at the end of the month with all your sculpts finished. And hopefully with a new Wacom Intuos tablet there. That'd be pretty neat, man. Trying to do a little bit better job on some of these shapes that I didn't, I kind of sketched in here pretty lazily. Like this. That looks like garbage. That's okay though. Again, I said I wouldn't go too crazy on the ear here, but I'm just kind of trying to fix some stuff. If you want to give some feedback, I would love to. Just search for Robert on ArtStation. Yeah, I'll have to check out the January sculpts you've been doing. All right, we'll let me get one more stroke in here. All right. We'll call that our basic ear, but yeah, just making sure that you're hitting within those guidelines of about the below the nose, and you know, depending on age, it's going to make your ears larger or smaller. So depending on some things like that, plus, you know, all ears are different, all faces are different. So trying to get some of that stuff to work as well. But yeah, we've kind of really worked in our basic proportions here, our basic shapes. Hopefully some of this stuff has been helpful for you. We're really only an hour in, so we still got some time to kind of play around and try to make some better shapes here. But let's see here. I'm actually going to try to bring a line down. A little bit better. I'm going to try to bring that back more. So at this point I might Z-remesh so we can get some actual subdivs in here. That might be a thing we want to play with. But yeah, just kind of trying to play with my face and really find my character that I want to create. I'm not really going for anything specific, but just trying to create some nice forms in here. And again, you know, work on our proportions and try to find something that we actually want to create here and try to do a good job of that. I'm going to move that line up more. And try to capture that a little bit better. Capture that around the corner of the mouth there is what I'm looking for with that change. So starting off by just kind of sketching in that line, pinching in to turn the surface. So as you can see here, that's kind of doing a twofold operation there. It's bringing up the area here around the corners of the mouth. It's also doing it up here, which we need to knock down, but it's also building up our shape of our nasolabial fold there. So again, twofold operation there. But trying to turn our surface, which isn't always easy. But again, just kind of using some of our clay brush and trim dynamic to try to adjust some of those shapes. Do another quick Dynamesh so that you can see this stuff gets cleaned up around here, around these edges. And you know, I can clean up some of this garbage that I was kind of sculpting in there. Can try to make the ridge of our nose a bit stronger since it's kind of rounded out so hard there. Kind of playing with that. And trying to blend some of this shape in a bit more as well. And our eyes right now aren't anything special, just some geometry I quickly threw in there and then kind of pinched. If you want to do some closed eyes really quick, we can just kind of try to sculpt that in there, or we can sculpt an eyeball cavity really fast. Either or works. And try to get this form even better here. And just kind of zooming out, looking at our profile view again, if there's anything we want to change here with our lips or nose, or in particular our brow or anything like that, which we haven't given too much attention to. You can see that we're still in our infancy of development of shapes up there. We can kind of do that a little bit better though. So. Kind of start building up some of these forms a little bit better than what I've done thus far. I'm just trying to look for the ridge of the brow there a little bit better than what I've kind of already done. Start to build up that form there. And wrap it around the eye. Start to make that brow look a little bit stronger there. So we've started to kind of build that form up quite a bit more, but now we can kind of blend it and knock it back some. I think starting to lower some of this as well will help. So that's really all there is to it, guys, in terms of I've shown you pretty much all I wanted to show you, but now we can kind of keep playing with this and I can kind of keep developing the major forms. I think everything from here is kind of downhill after you've kind of got those primary shapes and everything, but once you can kind of get to this place, you're in a really good position to continue moving forward with your head sculpt and kind of build some stuff up from here. But like I said, this is kind of the harder position to get to. I think it takes the most amount of time, but yeah, from here, it's downhill. Just really making sure that you guys take the time on those basic primary forms and build those up. We're gonna skip this song. I'm attempting now to just kind of exaggerate the temple there, the concavity and then convexity of the back of the skull here, just to kind of give it some more character. And then kind of making sure that I don't lose my eye shape in here as I work on that brow. It's really important to me that I kind of keep those separated. Again, we can always create that cavity in there so that we can start working on an eyeball if we want, which can be fun. Kind of just cross-hatch this up, and if it's a little too messy, you know, Trim dynamic will typically do the job pretty well at evening out your surface as long as you use it in a smart way. But yeah, just kind of exaggerating that shape, looking at my skull from the top view. Got some junk geometry down here. We can just kind of delete it if we want, but I don't at least for the time being. I think it looks more professional if you terminate, if you're doing like a bust or just a head, if you like terminate it really cleanly and just kind of like slice it or something like that. It'll look a lot more professional, but at least while we're sculpting away here, it's not I don't care. I don't mind looking at it. Sandro, welcome. Do Snoke. Snoke from Star Wars, I would assume. It'd be great to see how you do all the battle scars he has. Probably a lot of damn standard, is what I would assume. Just to kind of cut in and create those forms. But yeah, that would be a fun one. I'm kind of getting a lot closer to working on my character that I'm going to be doing for, hopefully, Art War. I've been talking about that for a while. Just trying to find the right time to start on that. And I think it's going to be here within the week. I'm thinking. I'm hoping. We shall see, though. But this is going to be a character that I spend probably a lot of time on, as it's something I want to be really, really good. I want to do a good job, and I want to really push myself on this full character that I'm going to be doing next, and try to learn and grow from working on it, as well as create one of the best characters that I have the ability to right now. And that's a tall order. So again, I want to give myself kind of full amount of time to be able to work on that. His head bump's a little narrow there. Try to round some of that out. So let's see here. Let's kind of terminate our zygomatic process. Not terminate it, but you'll see what I mean. Kind of pull it in a little bit, because it has this little bit of an S curve to it that I'll try to capture here a little bit better than what I have now. When I sculpt it, I tend to just do a straight line back like that, but then come back in later and start to pull it in a little bit. And we'll add some more depth to that part of the face. And if I can, yeah. I want to play with my eyelid shapes so that I can kind of judge this against each other here and make this a little bit better. Not super happy with it. Robert says, I can't believe it. I finally got the hang of the curved tube brush. Well, that's awesome, man. Good for you. I love that curved tube brush. I'm a big fan. I use it all the time. Use it for everything. I'll use it to like insert geometry, like create muscles and stuff too. It's like Frank's Red Hot. I don't know if you guys know that one. Trying to get this line here to be more prominent. Let's mask this. This will make this easier. And just kind of build this up a little bit. So I'm trying to build up this line. I still want the brow line to be strong. I want it to have like this secondary form of that lid as it starts to blend in there though. So unmask that and try to carry that shape and continue it in there. Trying to be careful here. They don't destroy too much of what I've already made. Start to add a lot more depth in there, I think. But let's look at our eyes here. Now, this whole time I've just been working on a single subtool. It's been Dynamesh pretty much this whole time. We can kind of roll back and look through it all. The only time I had a secondary tool was here at the very beginning. We just added a second sphere for the lower jaw and then worked that shape up. You can kind of see that process as we work on that. But as you can see, let's go back here. Let's go all the way back to here. From here all the way to the very end, our basic primary forms, these proportions, barely change. Very, very minimal changes, which is why it's so very important that you know where these landmarks are. It's hugely important. And as you can see there, I mean, they're barely moving. Like I'll make the mouth or the eyes a little bit wider, like the brow ridge, I'll make that a little bit wider. I'll start to work on the secondary forms of these things, but that primary position, those primary shapes, they really don't move. And you can see that all the way throughout that whole sculpt. And that's really just kind of illustrating how important that really is. And I hope that seeing that is helpful for you guys, because it really is important. It's an important part of your sculpt there. So really getting that early on proportional stuff can help you out a ton as you guys are going. I want to get this line to be a little bit stronger. There's a little bit of a dip in there. You can see kind of got a little concave effect going on there. I want this to be tightened up a little bit more to be closer to that. Obviously not doing it that way, but we're going to be using our move brush after we do a quick little auto retopo on this guy. But I want to look at a couple more shapes before I get there. Trying to look at this from multiple angles. Again, we talked about this shape around the lips and how tough that is to really achieve. I think it's pretty tough a lot of the time, but with a little bit of practice, you guys can do it. Just trying to represent that buildup of form there a little bit better. And damn, standard brush is too damn strong a lot of the time. Try to capture that form change there between the lobes of the nose. I don't actually remember what they're called, I just call them lobes. Shift our light around a little bit and try to get this surface change to occur a little bit better. A little bit more cleanly. Really won't matter too much once we smooth it out though. so it's not the end of the world. Shifting that light around can be extremely helpful for you guys though. The nose wings, yes. I call them the lobes of the nose. You got your ear lobes and your nose lobes. I mean, that nose isn't gonna fly anywhere. Why call them wings? I think this will be easier to achieve once we do our ZRemesh here. But I just want to pull out and down the shape of my brow a little bit. So this surface here, this plane, it's about like this right here. So it's facing out like this. I want to kind of tilt those down and get the surface change to occur there. And we're starting to get that. Alright guys, let's go from here and ZRemesh our boy and get him cleaned up. I think we've got a lot of good stuff here in the face in terms of form changes and everything else. Having these things exaggerated at this point can also really help ZRemesher, can help the guides of that do a really good job. Something I haven't shown you guys in a long time, it's been a while, is, and I don't want to do it because it's going to take a long time to do, but you can use polygroups to help guide your ZRemesher, and I don't know, we might do it if it's not that big of a deal. It's just that it takes a long time to kind of get these in a good place. So ZRemeshing around here, just kind of ZRemeshing the edge loops of the face, so starting to get some around the eyes, around the mouth, around the nose. These can be very helpful, and it's going to help ZRemesher know where you want your edge loop flow to kind of go there. And doing all this, so I'm just kind of pressing Control W to polygroup that, and I can clean up some of these selections. I just want to show you a couple here so you get the idea. So Control W, and I can select that, make it a little bit easier to select some of these here. So we'll just do our eye loops. Kind of our Robin mask there, and round that out because we really want the edge flow to say, hey, go this way, turn, sharp turn. This is probably going to create a star up there towards the cheekbone. That's totally fine. We're not super worried about that. But I think that's kind of enough there for you guys to get the idea of what we're going to be attempting to accomplish here. The last one I'll do, I just want to separate my lips into their own little group here, and hopefully that will help us out a bit more moving forward with these shapes. So that we can separate these. So we got our lips there, and let's do, get a little bit more there, and get rid of everything else. And the last one, whoops, nice lasso. And there we go. Alright, so let me turn off line, and you can see some of these. So we can do a better job. Normally I would split the nose off and try to get some better edge loops in here, but this is, and the ear, and maybe the neck as well. This is going to give you guys a good idea of how you can kind of use some of this stuff. So Z-Remesher, keep groups on, and we are going to click Z-Remesh, and let that do its thing. I'm super rusty with Z, haven't even opened R8 since updating it. Not sure if I'll participate in Sculpt January. Yeah, it's already 8 days in, which isn't, I don't think that's too much to make up since they can be rough and quick. Really, it's not a competition. It's more of just like, hey, if you complete all these, it's a challenge to, it's a completion challenge. You get a completion grade for it. So, I don't know. I don't think you're too late if you do want to jump in, if you're looking to maybe win a new Intuos tablet. Like I said, it's not a competition, just participation award there, randomly chosen. But yeah, as you guys can see here with our Z-Remesh, we had those keep groups on. And you can see how that flow of geometry has really helped us out. We got some weird areas happening around here. But you guys, I think, really get the idea of how this can be super, super helpful. And how this polygon flow is flowing around there perfectly simply because I created a nice little polygroup for that. And step back and forth between those. But doing that around the eyes, doing that again around the nose, and doing this a little bit more clean here, maybe with the nasolabial folds. At this point, we've come this far, we might as well do it, right? So let's finish polygrouping a couple extra things, and then we'll remesh that. So the nose, like I said, I like to do the nose here. So let's try to get rid of some of this excess geometry around here. And I like to do something like that. And like that. And just polygroup that. Find a nice color there. And we got a little extra geo down here around the nose, so let me select some of this. That. You want to make sure, I don't know what just happened there. You want to make sure that you're not selecting and having these weird tiny little polygroups in there. It's going to really mess up your edge flow, and you don't want that to happen. Dang it. Alright, let me polygroup this separately. So, there we go. That and our mouth here. Polygroup that all together. And there we go. You can turn off line if that's getting a little hard to see. And we got some like dirty little geometry up there. That's not the end of the world. Don't worry too much about that. But yeah, we can try to make our edge flow a little bit better here. I'm going to turn on select rectangle. I really love the select lasso tool, but the problem with it is that it won't select just like solid polygroups. It'll select polygons, edges, and I'm sorry, points, faces, and edges separately. So if you accidentally click on an edge, which is pretty common, you'll end up selecting an edge loop, which can be helpful, I mean, if you need to do that, but most of the time, I'm not trying to do that. There are much better ways to select an edge loop, and on a high poly piece, I'm not normally attempting to select an edge loop. Alright, so just kind of masking off our ear so we can have a nice separate poly group here for that. And I'm sure you guys have seen cases where if you want to get the flow of your ear to be even more clean, I could trace maybe the shape of my helix here and my anti-helix inside, and a bunch of these other shapes here. But I think we're good with that. Let's try to clean this shape up some more. And with the shape of the mouth, what I did is I tucked it up under the chin. What I see a lot of the time though is something more like that. I'm sorry, I tucked it up under the lower lip there. I didn't do a great job, so I kind of want to redo that. And I might, let's do 2. So let's do 1 coming up under the chin. And if you guys don't know, like, kind of the standard face topology, you guys can look up some guides for stuff like this. I'm kind of just going off of where I want them in memory. If you're doing something for animation, it's nice to have it here. What's more important to me right now is capturing where I need this geometry to go. And we'll do 1 more here. I kind of want to capture maybe something like that. And try to do a better job here. And what this is going to do is it's going to make it a lot easier for us to bump up this shape on the corner of the mouth, really inflate that. Hopefully, that's our intention. So try to get that edge to flow through there. And polygroup that. And that might cause some issues there where that is connecting. Really, I won't know until I Z-remesh it. So it might be best to do one of these. And just group that all as one there. Alright, so let's try that out and see how that does. Maybe carry this edge loop a little bit better. Or actually, it is, it's fine. It's just the same color, a little bit hard to see. So when working like this, again, it can be tough because you might get some hidden little poly loop or poly groups in there that you don't want. You just gotta look out for that stuff. Try to capture that a little bit better, but I think it'll be fine, actually. We won't worry about it too much anymore. Alright, so let's Z-remesh this guy again. And duplicate. Grab our top one there. Z-remesh down here. Keep groups. I'm just hitting a target poly count of 5, which is the default. And we'll see what we get there. I don't have anything around the eyeballs. We haven't placed any eyes. We're just kind of working with an eyelid there. I don't know if we want to do that. We'll see what this looks like first. Around the corners of the mouth, You can see that we get some pinching going on, so that might be something we want to avoid there. But for the most part, we got some problem areas, a couple here and there. Some stretching of geometry. But for the most part, we have captured the loops that we want to. And again, doing manual retopology for something like this is going to be much more powerful, but this is a quick tool to get this where you need it to go. And if I was doing this as something that I really wanted to do and really wanted to make sure that I had really clean edge loops, I would go through, I would do the jaw, I would separate that, I'd clean these up, I would do something for the eyes and keep going. But really, I just want some subdivs. That was like the whole reason of doing this. I was just wanting to show you guys a couple of things in there along the way. So hopefully that was helpful for you guys, but not a huge deal to me, as I just reproject everything up towards the top as I subdivide and project, making sure that both of these are visible. I do have solo mode on though, so I can't see that underlying piece there. You don't need to have it visible with solo, but you do need to have it visible with the eyeball icon over there. And I'll do one more subdiv, and I'm not going to project again. It's fine. But yeah, delete that piece that I was kind of projecting on there. And this is a really good place to be, because now we have subdivision levels, and we can step up and down through those and work on that more. And we have some cleaner topology, although not as clean as it could be, absolutely. If we wanted the cleanest topology we would obviously do some manual retopo, but we don't really have time for that, and I don't really want to do that right now, as we want to sculpt, and I want to retopo. Not manually, at least. So yeah, I think let's see how we're doing on time real quick. We'll go for about like 20-ish more minutes here. 20 or 30 more minutes, and I'll keep playing with our guy here. But yeah, if you guys got any questions or anything like that, let me know, and I'll just kind of keep it chill and try to talk about some of the things that I'm doing and why I'm doing them. But if I'm pretty bad at talking and sculpting at the same time, so if I do something that you guys are like, whoa, why are you being so stupid in doing that? I'll tell you. I will tell you why I am so stupid and why I do it that way. Our ear shape isn't I don't think it's deep enough, one, this way. But it's pretty basic, you know. I don't have all the forms in there that we need, but we got the basic ones. And we wanted we wanted our primary shapes there to be a little bit more accurate. Perspective. You screw with my head. There we go. Step on down, pull out our inner edge here, and push in our outer edge. That'll like typically, if you're like looking from a straight on view, it'll typically come out more like that. And from what I've seen, quite often come out past your outer edge there. It doesn't have to though. Again, look at a bunch of reference of ears. There's so much variation. But you know, those basic forms are always going to be there. I like ears though. I have fun kind of playing with them. Ears and noses, I think, are always a fun thing to sculpt. kind of smoothing out some shapes as we have some hard lines in here in a lot of places. That edge right there, you can see that pinching in right there. That's a problem with our topology flow, so that'll be kind of annoying to kind of clean up. But we can still do it. It's not the end of the world. And especially since we have our subdivs to step up and down between, it's going to help us out a lot. We really haven't done anything else with our eyes, so I guess we can very quickly come through here and do like an eyelid shape. Just like a closed eyelid or something. Closed eyes. And if you're closing your eyes, typically it has this. We can look up some pictures here real quick. But we'll just do this. This might be a scan. I don't know. No, it's not. But yeah, they typically have this, you know, U shape where the upper lid is coming down a lot more over that bottom lid. So that's what I was attempting to capture there a little bit. Just kind of coming through here. If you want to mask them off and sculpt on the top and the bottom one at a time, it can be very helpful. Do a little inflate or move or whatever you want to do there. And try a move back face mask. Just to kind of got a little bit of a bad shape going on there. Uneven mask. I'm just kind of making that look a little bit more like they're overlapping. Or at least attempting to. And then if you want to maybe add some form, we can use our, like I said, inflate works pretty well for stuff like this. Inflate's strong though, so you gotta be a little careful. As you can see, we start to build that up and maybe come down to the lower lid, and we can look back at our reference here. Eyelashes are kind of in the way, so I can't really see that, but we can inflate it just a tad as well if we have the inflate brush selected. Just a quick little inflate like that. So nothing crazy, just something real quick. I think can kind of get the job done there. And our eyes are honestly looking a bit flat. A little hard for me to tell. Whoops. Clear that mask. But if I can round those out a bit more. Maybe push in on the corners just a wee bit. Try to capture that more. Robert, how would you sculpt the eyes for Sculpt January if you wanted to be creative? Is one of the options eyes, or one of the day's eyes? I made a face with some nice eyes and without the nose and the mouth. I mean, that works. If one of the options was eyes and I wanted to be creative, maybe I would just create a creature like a cyclops or something. I don't know. Or like is it Oddworld monsters? The dude that like holds his eyeballs in his hand. No, not Oddworld monsters. What's the old... This guy. Real monsters, not Oddworld monsters. But yeah, like maybe something like work on doing this dude. God, these cartoons from back in the day were so freaking gross. But yeah, maybe something like that. That might be fun. Neko Hime, welcome back. Glad to have you with us. We're just kind of doing a Dynamesh face. We actually just got out of Dynamesh, and now we have some actual subdivs that we're playing around with. But yeah, we're just kind of playing around today. If you would like to see some more anatomy sculpting tips, feel free to pop on over to my YouTube channel, as this whole thing will be uploaded up there once I'm kind of done here. But yes, I think that character would be fun to maybe sculpt for like the Eyes Day. That was like the first thing that came to my mind. But yeah, maybe like a Cyclops would be fun or something like that. I don't know. Do lots of fun things. But remember that the objective is to kind of build a habit there, and you're attempting to just grow more as an artist. So I don't know, anatomy study and creating some eyes isn't a bad thing at all. Abdul, you're awesome. Thank you for sharing your art. Thank you, man. I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot. But no, I'm not awesome. Don't say that. Don't make my head big. There are so many amazing artists out there, a million times better than I. We're just sculpting a stupid head, and it's not even that great. There's so many great sculptors out there, so go tell them that they're awesome. This form change in the brow is really strong. So let me see something here. We got a little bit longer, so I'm just gonna turn off symmetry, turn that bad boy off, and get to adding some asymmetry and playing with more forms here, and in an attempt to do this a little bit better. So let me set some things up here. Okay. So I'm going to be using my clay tubes brush to build up and take down a lot of form as well. But just trying to add some asymmetry in here. So grab some references and go crazy. You can use your move brush on, I would say, stuff like the nose a little bit. But in all honesty, like, bones don't move. I was trying to think of what I was trying to say. Bones don't move, so really do keep that in mind as you do this stuff. Of course, there's going to be some asymmetrical differences in some parts of the skull, but for the most part, just like, don't go too crazy with it, I would say. But yeah, I'll just like add some extra form in here to some places where I think it could use it, and take some away where I don't want it. Blend some forms a little bit more on some areas, and exaggerate them more in other areas, and just kind of trying to build up this asymmetry. This is something I would do before I would get into adding some textures to this head. I would really start kind of breaking up some of these areas where it's just a little too intense for some of these forms. Like the Cheekbones too sharp for my liking. Some of these other areas. Real monsters, yes. The real monsters. My class is doing sculpts with human bodies. This week is all about secondary detail. We have to have 9 sculpts to do in 7 days, as anatomically correct as you can. Yeah, cool, man. I'll have fun with that. It sounds like a sweet class. I've never, you know, had an opportunity for a school to go to learn sculpting, but that's really cool, man. That's exciting. This song needs to change. I'm gonna try to pull down my lip there a little bit more. Nah. Nine sculpts in 7 days for you beginners is a lot. I don't know. Depends what it is, I guess. Like you said, some anatomical studies. In the beginning, I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done to kind of learn the tool set really well and just really get comfortable with what you're doing. I don't know. Sounds like a good habit builder. But I wish you the best of luck on this for sure. If you wanna, I was thinking about like stylizing this, doing like really sharp cuts and stuff like that, but I don't know, we've kind of already taken it this direction, so. So, just kind of adding a little asymmetry in there, best as I can, just with a clay brush really fast, just to show you guys some quick little ways that you can do that. Break up the face. Clean up some of this extra form we got going on. Swap our material so I can see some of this a little bit easier in some of these junky areas. And maybe don't clean it up quite as much if you want some of that texture to be retained. And we start to get some nice just unevenness in the skin surface where we want it with this kind of technique. So I think that's a good way to kind of do that as well. I still got that really weird stuff going on in the cheek up there, so I kind of want to get rid of that. But yeah, I don't know. That's basically it. That's basically all I wanted to show you guys today. So hopefully some of that was informative for you guys. Let's look. I did that quick one yesterday in a shorter amount of time than this one. I don't know. Where is it? Let me import this real quick. There we go. So here's another one. And here's the one that we just did. So this one has some stronger features, I think. Stronger brow line. I think just in general stronger features on this guy. But yeah, I don't know. Not to say that I didn't enjoy this one, enjoy working on this one. But we did this one a little bit faster. And with this one, spent a little bit more time. So again, hope that was helpful for you guys. I'll play around just a little bit longer here in the mud. Clean up some of these junkier forms here. But we don't even have eyebrows and that stuff on here. And I think that sculpts tend to look a bit unnatural and weird without that sort of thing on there. I think eyebrows and stuff add a lot to the eyes as a whole, but that might just be me. And that's how you sculpt a head, right there. Boom. That's it. That's all you need to know, guys. Right there. Alright. Alright guys, so let's see here. 6 different full body sculpts of different body types and 3 torso sculpts of different body types. Sounds like fun. Sounds like a good time. Alright guys, I'm gonna bounce on out of here, but again, hopefully some of this was helpful and informative for you. And I hope to see you guys in the next stream tonight. If you missed anything from here that you want to go back and look back at, the stream will be uploaded on my channel within probably a few hours. It doesn't take that long for it to upload and process and do all that. But yeah, head on back there, scrub through, and I do a little thing at the beginning where I teach you how to activate Spotlight and work with some of this and get some proportions for that stuff. So that can be pretty helpful as well. So look at that and look back through again if you want to check that out. Scott, love the asymmetry, yeah. Good old 5-second tweak. Thanks, have a good one, guys. Prognoses. Prog the noses. I love it. Alright, guys. So I'll see you in the next stream, hopefully tonight. And until then, you guys have a great day. Alright, see you guys.